Wuthering Waves 2.2 surpassed my expectations and left me in complete awe. The story was genuinely phenomenal, and there's a ton of content packed into one 30-day update, which is the shortest patch yet, but even still there's so much to experience. But before we get into its greatness, make sure to subscribe as only 7% of you are currently subscribed, and my goal is to reach 200 subs by June. We have rapidly grown with each video, and I appreciate every single one of you watching. Now, let's get into the review. Wuwa's story has been brilliant for a while now, which is funny to think about looking at the release of the game. The story just wasn't good, but as time went on, the story has improved bit by bit each update, with 2.0 being one of the best story quests I've ever seen in a gacha game. So I was pleasantly surprised when 2.2 completely surpassed 2.0. It felt like a movie the whole time, with probably the best character animations and expressions I've seen outside of cutscenes in a gacha game. The camera angles only added to this, and made the storytelling feel unique, and made everything flow together nicely. And it didn't need a 6 to 10 hour quest filled with 3 hours of build up for the actual story without adding any value to the overall plot and being mostly forgettable like other games, but instead it only needed 30 minutes to pull you in completely, and in total it's a 2 to 3 hour experience that keeps you glued to the screen the whole time, with zero filler dialogue. And it's not all dialogue, there's a ton of gameplay throughout it to keep you engaged, with honestly excellent level design. And it didn't focus on too many characters either, only focusing on the MC and 2 others, which makes it easier to feel invested into these characters. And damn, is the voice acting great. The quality is honestly incredible. It's pretty cool seeing a game with not so great voice acting become a game with some of the best voice acting I've seen in the gacha space. And to add to that, the expressions of facial animations are honestly amazing and so fluid. They perfectly match the characters' voice tones. It's nice to see characters with genuine personalities within the game itself, rather than pushing all of their backstory into a trailer outside of the game, like Hoyo does. The soundtrack is also breathtaking. Each track in this update perfectly sets a scene and adds to the emotion of the storytelling. And with gorgeous cutscenes and animated scenes, this just creates an immersive storytelling experience that I truly won't forget. It was a cinematic experience with captivating visuals, emotional moments, and blood-pumping action scenes, with a bunch of gameplay in between moments of dialogue. I could safely say this is the best story experience in any gacha game I've played. The characters are well written and tragic, this just adds to their likability without feeling forced, and the soundtrack was perfect and fit every moment perfectly, especially the final boss and the final cutscene. The twists were also believable and made sense. Everything is presented so well in a way that leaves you amazed. The camera angles and story presentation make such a great grounding story that perfectly captures what it's trying to convey. The 2D animated scenes were also truly beautiful and further enhanced the presentation, and overall 2.2's story just left me in complete shock in the end, and itching for more. I can't wait to see how they build off of what's already here. It just leaves me excited for the future. It was a true narrative gem, and I truly can't put into words how damn good it was. But what I can say is that the visuals were stunning, the character expressions were fluid, and the voice acting was brilliant. The story itself was perfect. I don't have a single complaint. The pacing was flawless, the dialogue never dragged out, the optional and hidden dialogue was fun, and everything just came together to create a breathtaking storyline with a truly beautiful meaning. It's a story about freedom and fate, and it captures that feeling perfectly. There are 2 new areas added in 2.2, which is crazy to me since again this is a 30-day patch, so this missed content being in such a short patch is great to me, especially because it doesn't feel bloated, it just feels complete. And wow, are these new areas beautiful. The first area isn't anything too special, and it doesn't take too long to explore, but it's still pretty and fun to explore, even if it's just the entrance to the true new area, which is Avenolium, a castle-like set of floating islands in the sky, and holy shit is this location beautiful. And the scenery looks very different depending on the time of the day in-game, which is very picturesque. You can also manipulate gravity within Avenolium, flipping structures and environments in many different ways, which leads to some really trippy but insanely cool visuals. It also adds more depth to the exploration, making the area feel like multiple locations rather than just one. It was also really trippy walking up a normal pathway and then switching gravity levels and instead climbing up that pathway or building because it's been flipped upside down or on its side. I've also seen some really cool edits of this area. It's almost reminiscent of the Infinity Castle from Demon Slayer, but in a much more majestic way. And I think this whole area improves the traversability and movement of this game. I already enjoyed the parkour-like system originally, but with this added, it feels so much more smooth and so much more satisfying. There's also quite a bit of exploration involved, like searching chest spots, fighting enemies with objectives to clear, and solving puzzles. My only issue with the exploration is the lack of diversity within these puzzles, which I'll speak more about later, but for now let's speak about the positives. There's more to the exploration here, and it actually takes a few hours, unlike in 2.0. There's also some new exploration activities and returning activities, but with different mechanics or difficulties. And because there's too many activities for me to condense into one topic, I'll be selecting my favourite activities and my least favourite while speaking about my reasoning. Starting off with my positive thoughts, there are a few more chests scattered around, which if you know from my 2.0 review, you would know I'm not a fan of the way they handle chest spots, with a majority of chests being way too easy to find, with literally no puzzle solving being involved, and all chests being put into small areas that are already marked in your map feels a bit cheap and lazy to me. Whilst there are still no puzzles out in the wild to be found, there are now a few chests outside of loot spots to be found in the wild, but still not enough for me to feel invested into finding them all. Other activities I enjoyed are the music flies. I like the fact that you have to actively hunt for literal soundtrack flies, beat the shit out of them, and then listen to their OST in the gallery. I also like the flight challenges because they are satisfying and beautiful to watch, but honestly not challenging in the slightest. They're more of just a way to introduce you to the region and look at the scenery around you. Dream Patrol challenges are back, and whilst they aren't as challenging as they were in 2.0, they're still fun to clear with various different combat objectives to spice things up. Color palette challenges are still here, with harder solutions this time. These are literally the only puzzles in 2.2 which I find weird, but I still like them, especially because they give you the ability to make things easier if you keep failing. I didn't use this personally, but I think it's great for people that don't really know how to clear these puzzles or for people who struggle. Dodge challenges also make a return with a new variant, where instead of dodging enemy lines, you now dodge circular lightning strikes. Honestly, I really enjoyed these the most out of everything, because they were so chaotic and fun, but I'm still disappointed as there were a lack of these. I think there's around 4 or 6, but either way, I could be wrong about this, but I do think they should have added a few more of these activities, especially if the good ones. There are many activities from the previous updates that they've just removed entirely from this new area, well, 2 new areas, that I think they could have added and expanded upon, like the bear one where you have to bash rocks, and the one where you have to trace the paper lines. But let's move on to the negatives. Going back to chest spots, which are marked on your map for you automatically. Some may say this is great as finding chests is now easy and fast, but to me it's a waste of opportunity. You have this massive open world with many areas to dot chests all around the map, but nah, let's limit 90% of all chests to these small areas that take 30 seconds to loot up fully, so you don't feel any joy whilst exploring, but you never really get to enjoy these new locations or explore them fully. Me personally, I don't care if it's easier, I want an open world to feel full, not empty, but that's just me. Let me know in the comments guys what you think, and do you prefer easy loot that takes no time, or do you prefer putting time into the game with loads of puzzles and chests around the map, giving value to exploring the map? And finally, the worst aspect of all the exploration is these weird boat challenges. I hate these so much, and to be fair, there's only a few of these, but they just suck. It's janky, hard to navigate, especially when you're in these tight spaces and you literally can't move the boat in time to avoid obstacles. You're constantly bumping into invisible walls. It's a completely boring, broken and pointless feature, and it's not even a challenge, it's just pure jank. Boat riding itself is fine and really fun, and not janky whatsoever, but this minigame itself just sucks. Now to the new characters and events. Let's be quick here, as honestly nothing special to talk about here, other than the fact that we now have a new form for the rover, which is the aero form. Honestly, from what I've played, I like this new form, especially the playstyle and the kit, and I think it's pretty damn cool that we get a free 5-star weapon for the rover too, which really helps out. We also have Cantarella, honestly a great character as a whole, but I don't really enjoy her playstyle personally, it's just not for me, but overall still a great character in many ways. There's a new weekly boss, probably my favourite so far, and there's also some other echoes to obtain. And as for the events, there's not much to talk about here, as most of the events are tied to exploring the new areas or completing the new content. There's also a combat event, which is pretty fun and very free to play friendly, which makes a change with this trial characters already being built for each level. And honestly, it's a good thing there's not too many unique events, as there's not much time in this update to complete them. So overall, there's still a good amount of events with a plentiful amount of rewards. There's a lot I really wanted to speak about in this video, but I'm currently very sick and I need this video to be out before 2.3, let's move on to the final verdict. Wuthering Waves 2.2 was a brilliant update, and though it has a few flaws and missed the mark on its exploration in terms of challenge and puzzle variety, it definitely makes up for that. With its beautiful scenery, great music and phenomenal story. I do hope in the future Kuro will implement more puzzles and chests around to find, because otherwise you don't really explore anything, you just teleport to a few areas and then you're done. But I am hopeful for the future, and I'm extremely excited for 2.3. Not only is it the first anniversary patch, but it's also home to two of the most anticipated characters in its roster, so I can't wait to see what's in store later this month. Honestly, the story itself really does shine here. It was emotional and beautiful. It didn't feel like a gacha story, it felt like a complete story, and I genuinely love that. I can't express how great the storytelling has become in this game, and how powerful its messages are. The soundtrack is also legendary and memorable, unlike the previous versions. The final 20 minutes of the story were the best I've spent in any gacha. With a great final boss, well-written characters and gorgeous cutscenes, 2.2 truly is unforgettable. And to add to that, Avonolium is the most stunning location I've ever seen in a gacha game. With the most unique and original mechanics that feel surreal to witness and use, and even though you hardly get to use the gravity shifting outside of the story, it's still a great feature, and I hope to see it somewhere else in the future, because wow was I in awe using it, watching everything around me change, flipping the environment in different ways. So overall, 2.2 is an experience I won't forget. As I've said many times in this video, I was amazed by how good one short update can be, and how it proves that a story quest doesn't need to be 6 to 10 hours long, it just needs to have good pacing and a great way of storytelling. So I'll be giving this update a perfect 10 out of 10. I originally planned for this video to be in more depth and have more to expand upon, but I'm really struggling to speak currently as I am ill, so I do apologise for that, but I promise once I recover, my next review will improve, expand on this video, and have a better format. Of course, the anniversary is the next update. I will be doing a sort of review on that. I'll explain what that means in that video. But if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and any support or feedback is much appreciated. If you have any suggestions for games you want me to review on the channel, let me know in the comments, as well as any improvements you wish to see in the next follow-up video or whatever you want on this channel. And with that, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Thank you for watching.